at E3 2010 and we're backstage on the Nintendo stand and we're getting our first hands-on look at Nintendo 3DS hardware. I'm with Richard Ledbetter of Digital Foundry fame. We've been going through all of the various demos. But quickly first, we're going to take you for a tour of the hardware itself. We're not allowed to show you it with the screens on. You wouldn't be able to see the 3D effect anyway, but this is the hardware itself. So Rich, talk us through it.
Well, basically we have a 4:3 screen. This is the touch screen. We have 16:9 widescreen auto stereoscopic screen here. This is where you get your 3D. Stereo speakers, camera, and on the lid you'll see an additional 2 cameras. This is for taking stereoscopic photographs. So
3D pictures.
3D pictures, yes. So basically you take the photographs and then you view them in 3D on the display here, which I think is a really neat touch. Wasn't expecting it.
No, and I mean that could be something that developers can have great fun with. Also, the analog nub that you can see there. In addition, it actually feels really comfortable. I mean, comparing it, I don't have a PSP to hand to compare it to, but it feels really comfortable having that concave shape. Your thumb feels very, very snug in it. And here, at the bottom of the screen, you've got to select home and start buttons. I am told that this isn't final hardware necessarily yet, so there may be a few changes, but I think obviously we're pretty much at where they're at. Now, the screen itself, explain what you mean by auto stereoscope.
Well, basically it means you don't need glasses. The stereo effect is just there. From what I can see, basically there seems to be a sort of series of barriers that direct light either to your left or your right eye. So if you kind of point it sort of extreme to the left or the right, you can see just the one view. The other great thing about it is that you can adjust the strength of the 3D effect using this slider here. So you basically get more depth the higher the slider is at, and you really should have it at the maximum, I think. Or you can just turn it off completely and you just get a conventional flat 2D screen there.
What do you think? Is that what's actually happening when you're moving that slider?
Probably just the game itself is adjusting the 3D strength, because on the movie trailers that we saw, you basically got either 3D or 2D with no graduation. So it suggests that the game itself is doing the calculations there. Otherwise, headphone socket, volume, SD slot. I think we have the cartridge slot here.
Yes, I mean they said in the conference it's fully backwards compatible with DS and DSi.
Yep, and shoulder buttons, and I suspect this is an IR infrared receiver.
And we've both played through. They've got a lot of content on this, a lot of different demos to play. Most of them are non-interactive in the sense, or interactive played through demos where you can move the camera around, say, or just see footage. There is one playable game which is Star Fox 3D. Out of the stuff that you've just played through, what most impressed you?
I really enjoyed Metal Gear Snake Eater 3D. It looked very, very similar to the PS2 version, but with 3D. And again, that was just a kind of on-rails walkthrough, but it looked fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And similarly, Resident Evil Revelations, just a cutscene, but the quality of the 3D models was fantastic. It looked really good.
I think it's worth saying actually on that note as well, even with the slider off, when you're just looking at it in 2D, the graphics seem quite a substantial leap from DS.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd say it's definitely Dreamcast PS2 level with knobs on.
And obviously, we've just come out of the Sony conference. We've seen the Nintendo conference and the Sony conference today. Obviously, 3D, a big part of both. The Sony conference, very much, it's all about wearing glasses. So how did the two 3D experiences compare to you?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously we have PlayStation 3, which is, you know, to be fair, immeasurably more powerful than what we have here. But at the same time, the 3D here, there's something about it that's special, isn't there? Something about it that's very good. And it's maybe something to do with the light. On the 3D TVs that you see, basically half of the light is diverted to one image, half of the light to the other, so there's a sort of dullness about it, whereas this, it's pristine, it's bright, it's clear, it's Nintendo, you know, it's bright, it's beautiful. So I'd say it was the surprise package, definitely much, much better than I was imagining it. And One thing which again surprised me was the quality of the movie playback.
Yeah, really, really high, quite high
I was
resolution.
expecting it to be quite poor because the games look a little bit blocky, but the 3D movie trailers were very high resolution, I thought.
I would never have considered watching a movie on a DS before, but I think now I can see myself sitting watching a 3D movie, which is great because I do find the glasses, and even watching 3D movies when we saw the PS3 demo earlier, it's a little annoying having to wear 3D specs.
Well, especially when you're already wearing glasses.
Yeah, indeed, and this I think absolutely has a wow factor. The first time you see it, when you do finally get to lay your eyes on it, you'll see what we're talking about. It's genuinely quite amazing, really, what they've achieved here. So very exciting.
I think it's fantastic. There were rumours before the event that it was PS3 360 power, but it was never going to be like that. But you've just got to kind of trust in the Nintendo content, basically. They know what they're doing. I mean, what about some of the other games we've seen? Mario Kart.
Mario Kart, I thought, worked brilliantly on there.
Very simple graphics, but the 3D perspective worked, and it's Mario Kart in 3D.
Star Fox looked quite nice as a sort of depth shooter.
Isn't it Star Fox 64?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically not quite to the same level as what we would expect from the other games because it is a Nintendo 64 title. But, it was in 3D. I can't say I was hugely impressed by it, but, the other stuff was...
Paper Mario as well. I mean, given Paper Mario's art style lends itself very well to this because you get the different levels of parallax that are perfectly sort of visualized by the 3D.
Yeah. We were kind of talking about the sort of cardboard cutout effect on the PlayStation 3 3D, where when we were watching Killzone, the view weapon kind of looked like a 2D object sort of brought closer to your eyes, whereas, that kind of style of effect is perfect for Paper Mario. But what can I say? Beautiful little machine, and I'm very impressed with it. Yeah,
so I think they've pulled it out of the bag as far as the conferences go. It was the most impressive thing, the big surprise that everyone's seen. Great stuff. At the moment, in terms of release date, just after the representatives here, there's nothing in the conference, and they're saying there's no news on that whatsoever. So we're going to have to wait and see whether we get to see it later this year, or whether it's something that might not come until next year. We're not quite sure, but that is the Nintendo 3DS. For more information on the things we've seen, more detailed write-ups, check out Eurogamer.net.